My name is Rebecca Mubiru, and I'm testifying of the Lord's goodness. It's a long one, but I kindly request that you listen to the very end. Apart from the hospital where I was hospitalized, the main doctors, Dr. Mwaka and Dr. Wakabi, that were directly making the decisions, my husband, Mr. Robert Mubiru, and our daughters, Sarah, Subi, Mirembe, and Kwagala. I will leave out the names of other people that were directly involved in this testimony. On the 12th of June 2021, a lady came home to assist us do some housework, as was always our normal routine. I personally opened for her, and she rather had an intense flu. In my jovial mode after greeting, I told her, "I hope you haven't brought us COVID." "No, ma'am," she replied, and we laughed over it and went on with our day's duties. She was wearing her mask on the chin, as many of us do or used to do. During the course of the day, one of our daughters got concerned and told me quietly, "Ma'am, X really has a bad cough." This I hadn't witnessed, but I took note of the concern. I need to mention that my husband was fully vaccinated, and our two elder daughters had got their first jab for the COVID-19, awaiting their second dose this August. I vehemently refused to take the vaccine, citing all manner of cases where vaccines were expired, to it being totally irrelevant since I'm a very active person. Lots of friends, my husband, daughters, Christians, doctors, in-laws, relatives, you name it, told me to take the vaccine, but I totally refused. So back to the 12th of June. When the lady had left, I felt quite uncomfortable, so I called her and requested her to please not return until she was totally healed of the flu. On the 13th, the lady we stay with said she was feeling weak, to which I told her, "Take a nap." The following day, the 14th, she was still feeling weak and had a headache. So self-medication. We gave her Panadol, knowing it could knock off whatever was disturbing her. On the early evening of the 15th, while in the kitchen, she mentioned she could not smell what she was cooking. My husband asked her to quickly go for a COVID test. She went immediately, and on return, I opened for her, and she told me, "Mommy, away from me." The test was positive. She immediately went into her space, which is self-contained, thanks be to God. We contacted our doctors, who told us to have her isolated as well as ourselves from the general public, and in the event that we go to the public, observe strict SOPs. We were all put on medication by our doctors, plus the various local herbs which we have all come across, steam with this and that and the other, and so on and so on. On the 16th, my feet started hurting so badly, and we reasoned. I stood for long, had them massaged, did my aerobics, and went to bed. 17th, the feet were still hurting more, and I suddenly felt weak. I completed my day's work, did my aerobics, and went to bed. Waking up on the 18th was a big struggle, and as I was unusually very weak and quite irritable. A friend called in the morning for a casual check, which we both keep doing to each other. She didn't like how I sounded, so she called my husband and requested that he takes me to Prime Health Medical and Diagnostic Center in Namugongo. I'm not the kind to go to hospitals, so I was hesitant, convincing my husband that I'll be okay. He insisted, as my friend was also calling off the hook to find out what the doctor had said. We went in the evening, and I had a really long wait before we could meet Dr. Mwaka and Dr. Wakabi. They are great physicians. They have a way around their patients. No wonder we had to wait that long because when my husband and I entered, they gave us so much attention as though we were the first and only patients they were attending to that day. Anyway, they sent us to their laboratory for various tests: malaria, typhoid, UTI, which were all negative. I was not hot, but when they took my temperature, it was 38.7, which was a bit concern to them. They gave me Panadol and asked us to go and redo all the tests again in Lancet Laboratories. On the 18th, we went early to do the test. The queues were endless, and we practically spent the day at the lab. Went for lunch and returned to pick the results, which were also negative. We took them back to Prime Health, and this time the two doctors advised for an antigen test, which was negative for COVID. At this, they requested that I do a PCR, and my friend who sent us to Prime Health then sent us to some place where we could get the test irrespective of it being a Sunday on the 20th of June. We took the test at about midday, and at 2 p.m. that same day, the shell dropped. As I was lying down in my bed, my husband came and told me, "Becca, they have sent your results and you're positive for COVID." I suddenly got up, and like Job in the Bible, I said, "What I feared most has happened to me." Then I became extremely weak and remembered all I had read and heard about COVID and how people die in such a short time. I was suddenly afraid of death. My appetite and sense of smell went immediately. I even became weaker. I was afraid of sleeping in the darkness, knowing that my day had come. I stayed sitting on my bed till about midnight while my husband watched soccer. So when he came to bed, I moved to the sitting room, hoping that everyone else in the house was asleep. I found Sarah and Mirembe still finishing up something. I sat in the cushion and cried with all kinds of imaginations of how my home will be when I'm gone. These daughters came and tried to comfort me. I told them to go to their beds, to which they refused. That they were going to keep watch over me. They played some worship music, which soothed me and took them to sleep. I then sneaked away from them to a room next door, opened the windows and watched the night. At about 2 a.m., my husband came and told me to go to bed and that the wind was not good for me. I hesitated, but realized that I did not go to bed. I hesitated, but realized that if I did not go to bed, none of them was going to go away. So I said, "Okay, let us go to our beds." It was, or so I thought, the longest night of my life, yet that was simply the beginning. On Monday, the 21st of June, we took the results to Prime Health, and I was admitted as a COVID patient. The doctors advised that Subi be my attendant due to her age and health, and not Sarah, who was coughing and wheezing. Going upstairs to that admission room was the longest journey I have walked in my life. I was totally energyless, and the doctors refused anyone to help me. I finally got to the bed and laid down. Then loads of medication were administered that night, which made me extremely weaker. When the doctors did a chest check, they were uncomfortable with the way my right lung was sounding, so they requested for a scan. On the evening of the 22nd, we went and had the scan done. We went in the evening because we were afraid of the queues, as the doctors feared the right lung had an accumulation of mucus. According to the doctors, the accumulation can be as sudden as no one can imagine. They insisted on one thing: Rebecca, don't lose the will to live. It only comes from within you. These words kept on ringing in my heart, and I was advised to go up and down the staircase twice, then steam with salt and have my husband bang on the back. I was also told to be in an inclined position and continually lie on my tummy as a sleeping position. While on that hospital bed, I would look out in the window and envy the people on the road, be angry with those not wearing masks and so on. I switched off my phone at a certain time because I was so irritable and also had no energy, especially with all the sad news that was coming through social media from friends, relatives, acquaintances, in-laws, strong personalities, all dying of COVID, name it. While in hospital, our daughters took on the mantle of cooking and sending breakfast and dinner faithfully to hospital, while a great friend of mine faithfully sent me lunch on her own accord, plus the young man who would deliver it faithfully. Another friend ensured that all the fruits I needed were available. Two special in-laws, a friend and another close, plus other friends who introduced to us Prime Health, sent us money to assist in our medical bills. There's a family that would make a special meal and deliver it even after I was discharged. I requested my husband and daughters not to tell people that I was in hospital because I figured everyone has issues, and more especially during this season. This, however, didn't go as planned, and we thank the Lord. There's a friend who said, "You cannot be silent when Rebecca is unwell." So a bit of word went around. My husband also informed our pastors of Watoto Church, who responded promptly with prayers, both written and audio, that he shared with me. Thank you very much, our pastors, for being present and practical. There is a couple that actually came in to check on us in hospital. And then there are these two guys who also individually drove all the way to Namugongo to check on me and also pray with me. I witnessed cross-generational love and prayers during this time. I can tell you without a doubt, pray. God answers prayers. There was a night when 2 people died at the hospital and I got so scared. I refused stuff to be done for me. I would bathe and dress myself however weak I could be. I would also leave the bathroom clean irrespective of how much energy that sucked out of me. While at Prime Health, I made a decision to only administer the drugs that had been prescribed by Dr. Mwaka and Dr. Wakabi, so as not to confuse the treatment. We have friends all over who sent in this and the other, those who asked for treatment so that they would share with other specialties and advice. But I said I'll stick to the 2 above mentioned doctors. Friends call and ask, "Rebecca, what do you want to eat?" Before long, they have sent you a meal. I'm surely loved. Thank you, all members of Watoto Church, friends from other churches, the entire body of Christ, my friends, families, and in-laws. This went on until the 28th of June, when the doctors came in and discharged me that evening. To be honest, I was uncomfortable being discharged, and wanted to stay till Saturday morning. However, my husband and daughters were for it. I was then advised to be in isolation for 21 days. By this time, the lady at home had done another PCR test, and she was negative, and so was Sarah. The rest of the girls and Mr. Mubiru were all well. It was the most painful thing being a leper in your own home. The people at home were advised to wear masks whenever they came anywhere close to me. The utensils I was using were sanitized. The social distancing was remarkable but painful. I could only sit outside in the sun at 10 a.m. then go back to my room. When I would come out for family altar, I would sit in a corner. The moment I sat on a chair, it would be sanitized totally. This Friday night was very uncomfortable, but I pulled through. Then Saturday night, still uncomfortable, but I made it through to Sunday. During these nights, I would dream of friends and family driving to our burial grounds. In the dream, I would see everyone, but no one would see me. My trip always ended in a particular place in a swamp en route to the burial ground. Then I would wake up. The dream went on many times. I can't sleep. Sunday night, the 30th of June, I had a terrible night. I was very restless and could not find a comfortable side to sleep. I became extremely weaker than before. Was grasping for breath, and I started praying and crying to the Lord. I prayed until I ran out of words and simply started crying to God. I asked God to give me a second chance. The verse that kept on repeating to the Lord was, Lord, you said I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I asked God, give me a second chance. I also told him that, God, it is the living that testify, not the dead. Please give me a chance to share that testimony, to share this testimony. This was about 2 a.m. and my breath was becoming shorter and shorter. I did not want to awaken anyone. So I tiptoed, looking for the oximeter in the house, which I failed to find. Then I went to the kitchen and got some oranges. These oranges were brought to me by a certain family, wishing me a quick recovery. May God bless that family. I chewed those, hoping my breath would stabilize. I was so restless. Then I asked God to give me some sleep, for He gives sleep to those He loves. I thought to myself, surely God, you love me. Give me some sleep. At about 4 a.m., I then lay down on my bed. And I was not asleep, but I was in a trance. I felt like old oil coming out of me, and new oil put in me. As soon as this transpired, I got up and spoke out, Jesus, you have healed me of COVID. I went to the bathroom, and loads of stuff came out of me for about 2 minutes non-stop. After this, I had a peaceful, deep sleep that I woke up at about 7:30 a.m. when Sarah had brought me breakfast. While having breakfast, a friend of mine called and told me, instead of walking in the compound today at 10 a.m., you wear your mask and walk to the main road and back. For some reason, I've been very afraid of walking to the main road. I would even fear sending our girls, afraid that something wrong may happen to them. Even I walking to the main road, I was totally afraid. Could only drive out comfortably. But this friend of mine I advised, and I accepted. On reaching the main road, the Lord told me, I want you to map out your surrounding from now and do praise walks. Since then, I daily do praise walks as per the route the Lord directs me, and it's amazing what He has revealed. strongholds that need to be broken, altars that have to be broken, bars, shrines, mad people that are actually dedicating areas where we reside in while we Christians are sleeping. I have a closer relationship with my Jesus, and I'm confident of this. The last scan that I took to Dr. Mwaka and Dr. Wakabi showed scars in my right lung, and these take time to heal, but all was good. I'll do the next checkup with the great physicians end of August. I'm continuing with medication until about end of August as I do my praise walks and spend more time with my God. It is His will to be done on earth as it is in heaven, and it will be done.